I've seen this many times where a student shows up to class and they are showing up with something they've never really trained with before. And I understand why some would do that. It's like, hey, there's this opportunity. I'm going to expend 6, 7, 800 rounds over 2 days. It's a class, so it's intended to be a learning opportunity. Well, I mean, you can certainly learn about that new gear choice that you are showing up to the class with. And some do that successfully, but quite often it's unsuccessful for students. And what I mean by that is it ends up being a struggle, kind of the struggle bus of, well, gun's not quite running right, or the ammo is not running right, or I'm having an issue with the optic, or I've never used an optic before at all, and now I'm doing it for the first time ever. And I'm not here to judge anybody for that, because certainly, like, you're welcome to use whatever you want to use. It's America. I even get questions from students, sometimes even just the days leading up to the class of, well, should I bring more of my competition setup, or a concealment setup, or, a duty gear kind of setup, or, whatever. And I'm always like, this class is not specific to a certain type of gear or shooting style necessarily. It's just, I want to teach you how to shoot better, because that benefits. And part of the reason, I mean, I'll be honest, one, I enjoy teaching people how to shoot better, and to teach them how to do that from a somewhat of a unique perspective in the way that curriculum is delivered. Also because it's applicable to no matter who you are. If I taught just purely a tactics oriented course, then the competition folks don't want to show up. If I taught a purely competition oriented class, then the tactical folks don't want to show up. And
Yeah,
so, that's kind of why the class is the way it
I
is.
think I think too we have to, like, if you're listening to this and you maybe have a class coming up, I think there's a commonality. There's a couple commonalities that I see, at the Guardian Conference classes that I teach, that you teach. One of those is sort of like the class justifies the purchase. I just
Sure,
signed up for this
sure.
class. This justifies me going and buying some new gear.
Yeah.
So, hey, as long as I'm going to take a new class, I'm going to get a new gun.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, by the way. I just think that's commonality. Another thing I'll see is the opposite. Like, I bought new gear, so I'm going to go sign up for a class so I can kind of put that gear through it.
Yeah.
And we see this a lot with optics these days. I've been wanting to switch to an optic, to a red dot, but I wanted to take a class with it. So I signed up for a class, and then I went and got the dot, put it on the pistol, and I'm going to go take that class and work out the kinks with my dot. So my point is, there's some, like, really legitimate reasons why people might show up with gear that is completely untested and unproven to them, for them, they've never used before. We did have, though, there was a student on your line who was running her EDC gun and her EDC holster,
Mm-hmm.
a KSG holster, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a P365, if I'm not mistaken. It was P365
Yeah.
XL. So that, and she made it very clear, like, this is what I carry. This is how I carry it. This is what I'm running. And she did that
Yeah.
for 2 days, straight through.
And did
So,
very well with it.
and yeah, and she did very